One particular question comes up a lot when I talk to people about revolution. Basically saying something along the lines of, yeah, well, it's nice and all, but can it really be done today? You'll never have enough people to overthrow the system. But what is enough people? It's a good question. Is there a magic number? Do you need 50% of the population behind the movement? 75%? 80%? Rationally, we assume there must be majority support for a revolution. But if you look at them by the numbers, you will find a surprising answer. There has never been majority support for a revolution from the outset. So what is the magic number?
The French Revolution.
Exact numbers of people directly involved in the French Revolution are difficult to come by, but it is estimated that a few 100,000 people participated in various revolutionary activities that kicked things off July 1789. Much of the early part of the French Revolution involved mostly the people of Paris, which had a population of approximately 600,000 people. Now let's be generous and say every one of them was involved in the revolution. The overall population of France was 27 million people. So if we assume that there was about 600,000 people involved from the outset, that would represent 2.2% of the population of France. Not really a majority, is it?
The Russian Revolution.
In the early stages of the October Revolution, 1917, it's estimated that only a few thousand armed Bolsheviks, with some sailors from the Baltic Fleet and workers, played a direct role. The total population of Russia is generally thought to have been around 150 million people at the time. If we generously grant the Bolsheviks and their supporters a figure of about 20,000 people involved in the initial coup, that equates to 0.01% of the population. Again, nowhere near what is considered a majority event.
The Cuban Revolution.
The Cuban Revolution, which took place between 1953 and 1959, was a drawn-out event that started with an initial insurgency force of around 160 individuals, Fidel and his guerrillas. Now this number increased over time, with estimates of rebel fighters reaching several thousand by the time they took power. If we use this estimate as a starting point and assume that each fighter had a support network, family, friends, collaborators, etc., then it is possible that the total number of people directly involved in the revolution was in the tens of thousands. Now if we take the total population of Cuba in 1953, which is around 6.4 million people, and generously assume that the number of people directly involved was around 50,000, then the percentage of the population would have been 0.8%. Again, not a majority. It is our Western democratic thinking today which skews our perception of revolution. We think of it like an election. A majority of people needed to get it off the ground. But the numbers completely destroy this misconception. The average percentage of direct involvement for these three revolutions is 1% of the population. If you look at the US today, population 330 million, that's about 3 million people. Or a much smaller country like Australia with 26 million, that's about 260,000 people. That's like 3 large stadiums deciding the fate of an entire country. The point is this: we have to stop thinking of things as impossible because we assume how we live today will just last forever. If you think of revolutions by the numbers, it's really just the spark before massive change. Revolution is not impossible. Don't let common sense blind you. Remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery.